Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the New Balance Visaro in the latest black and white, as well as white and black colorways. Now inside the box, they do of course include a string bag to go along with the shoes themselves. The black pair, which is what is in this box, comes with a black bag with the New Balance Visaro branding there in white, whereas the white pair comes with pretty much the exact same bag with the colors flipped. So white bag with the black New Balance Visaro branding. Other than that, all you're going to find inside the box, as you guys can see, are the shoes themselves. So we'll get these guys out of the box really quickly, and we'll take a closer look at the two latest colorways from New Balance on their Visaro model, black with white and white with black. They're essentially the opposite of each other, so I figured I'd feature them together in one video. In the video today, we're of course going to be taking a closer look at the colorways themselves. We're going to talk tech specs, performance features, take a look at how much these things weigh, as well as talk about how these things fit and feel on feet. So if you are interested in learning more about the New Balance Visaro, please stick around and watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, be sure to check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you'll find Buy It Now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $180 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's take a closer look at the two colorways. Now this of course is the two variations of the New Balance Visaro that we saw some of the New Balance pros wearing prior to its official release, black with white and white with black. Really simple colors that show off the true design of this shoe, and I really think the Visaro is a good looking boot. So we'll start off with the black ones here. Of course, you're getting an all black upper. The actual synthetic on the upper itself does have more of a matte finish to it, and you are going to have some shiny elements here going around the back of the heel area. As you guys can see, all the New Balance branding is white, so right here on the medial side, on the very back of the heel, the Visaro logo on the lateral side, and of course the New Balance logo on the lateral side as well, all solid white in color. You're going to find black laces, a black liner, a black sole plate, and all the studs are black as well. So very straightforward. This is going to be the easiest of these two colorways to keep clean for those that are wondering, because the other ones, as you guys can see, are mostly white. I know a lot of you guys will ask, will these things get dirty? The answer to that question is yes. The sole plate's white, so it's going to stain pretty easily. You're going to find that the upper is a nice solid white color, at least the main portion, the main synthetic material, whereas the back part that's more of a synthetic leather is kind of a more of an eggshell white as opposed to a true bright white like you're going to find across the majority of the upper. So a little bit of a different shade in white colors on the actual shoe itself. White laces, white sole plate, although the sole plate does have more of kind of a, again, more of an eggshell color. Whereas this little part is actually a true bright white. Hopefully that comes through on camera. And then of course, New Balance branding, black, Visaro branding, New Balance branding on the back, and the New Balance branding right there, all black in color. So they kept things very simple. And like I said, the final product, in my opinion, just looks really clean. I personally prefer the look of the white ones, but I'm a sucker for white shoes. But let me know your opinions on them down below in the comment section. Do you like how these look? Why or why not? And which of the two would be your pick if you were buying one or the other? Let me know down below in the comments. And with that being said, let's move on to the tech specs so we can learn a little bit more about the overall performance. As far as performance is concerned, the Visaro is a very good shoe. A lot of people compare it to the original Nike Hypervenom Phantom, including myself, and I think that's really the best comparison with this particular shoe. Even prior to the official release, just based on how the upper looks, a lot of people were saying that New Balance copied Nike and the Nike Skin upper on the first Hypervenom, and to a certain extent it is very similar. As far as copying is concerned, I wouldn't necessarily say that's the case. I think shoes in general are kind of trending towards mesh and woven and knitted types of materials as bases for the upper itself. Plus, if you're familiar with New Balance's running line, their Minimus line of shoes have featured mesh uppers along the lines of this particular upper for years now. So it's not like they're completely copying Nike, it's just something similar, and it is something that New Balance as a brand has actually been doing for years now. Now in terms of what you're getting, it's a mesh base upper, so it does of course have this kind of circular pattern, which does give it a texturing very similar to the original Hypervenom Phantom, and in all honesty it feels pretty similar too. I will make the argument that the actual polyurethane covering for the upper itself is a lot thicker than what we saw saw from Nike on the original Hypervenom Phantom. So for that reason, it's not quite as soft on your foot, and it doesn't actually overstretch either, which is arguably a good characteristic because it does feel more responsive, especially in the long run when compared to that original Hypervenom. As far as the name of the synthetic is concerned, they call it Verizone Areaprene Synthetic, which is kind of a difficult name. The reason why they call it Verizone is because it technically has different texturing and finishing on certain parts of the upper. So all the parts that have these circular patterns is kind of the more open, flexible area, whereas right here on the medial side of the forefoot and toe box area, the striking area of your foot, it turns into these straight lines where the actual mesh is a little bit more dense and a little bit firmer against your foot, basically. So it's supposed to make for a kind of harder surface to impact. It's not going to provide that same cushion as the rest of the upper, and it does feel a little bit different when you're wearing them, but in all honesty, once you get used to how these shoes feel on your feet, it's something that you don't really notice at all. But like I said, the general experience of wearing them is a shoe that feels very flexible, feels very natural, and like I said, has a lot of similar qualities when compared to that original Hypervenom Phantom that a lot of people miss. So if you're one of those people, this is the next logical replacement for you. It does have an off-center lacing system, as you guys can see, so that again does kind of make it compare a little bit better to the original Hypervenom Phantom. The finish on the upper, it is kind of like a waxy finish, so again, very similar to Nike's Nike Skin. I apologize for comparing it so much to the original Hypervenom Phantom, but it really is a lot alike in regards to the actual material that they've used for the upper. Moving on to the back of the shoe, it does have a very, very low cut on the sides of the ankle, which some people won't necessarily like all that much. Again, that's more of a preference thing. I personally didn't have any issues with it. Heel slippage was never a problem for me, despite it having a fairly shallow fit. And like I said, for the most part, they're pretty comfortable from right out of the box. In regards to the inside of the shoe, you're going to find a kind of synthetic suede lining material. I'm not sure if that's what it is technically, but it does feel very comfortable and it grips your socks quite nicely as well. A decent amount of padding back there too. So again, step in comfort at the rear of the shoe, not an issue whatsoever. You're going to find that it features a fresh foam insole, which is a type of foam that again you do see on New Balance's running line. It feels firm, but at the same time it has a nice responsiveness to it. So it is above average as far as soccer shoe insoles are concerned. But with that being said, it is fully glued into the shoe, which has its benefits and its negatives, and it's glued into the point where you really couldn't remove it even if you wanted to. So what's good about this is that the insole is not going to slide around on you, and actually it doesn't have a mesh liner either. It has that kind of straight up foam lining, which I personally really like the feel of. With that being said, the negative of having a glued in insole is that's the insole no matter what. You can't really take it out. If it breaks down over time, there's not much you can do other than just replace the whole shoe, because trying to put an insole on top of an insole that's already there is likely going to lower the volume on the shoe in terms of how it fits, and they just won't fit properly with two insoles inside. So that is something you have to take into consideration. Most high-end shoes around the $200 price point, these are a little bit less at $180. You'd expect a removable insole, but I think that performance-wise, the glued-in insole they have included is perhaps the better decision. You do have an internal plastic heel counter as well, so a little bit of solid structure there at the back of the shoe. And then moving on to the sole plate and stud pattern, this is what they call their Superflex sole plate. And I would argue that it doesn't really feel all that flexible in your hands, but when you actually play in them, they feel very naturally. It moves and bends with your foot really well. It just has that nice kind of truly running shoe type sensation in terms of just how it flexes with your foot, especially in the forefoot and toe box area. So they don't feel stiff at all, but when you strike the ball, it doesn't lack the stiffness you would want from a high-end kind of thin synthetic soccer shoe. So they feel very solid on your feet, despite the sole plate being quite flexible. In terms of the stud pattern itself, the stud pattern is kind of similar to what we've seen from Adidas and their F50 line, or just Adidas in general as a brand, with the triangular shaped studs. Obviously it's not the exact same layout. It does feel quite a bit different in comparison to Adidas, but I guess that's the best comparison. They dig into the ground quite nicely. The studs themselves are fairly short for a firm ground stud pattern, so it's not particularly aggressive, keep that in mind, but you do get that nice kind of low to the ground stable sensation when you wear this. You also keep in mind that this does feature more studs than you would normally find from Adidas. You're going to find right here in the forefoot, kind of at the ball of your foot, You have more conical shaped studs, which again, not something you really notice when you're actually playing. And then you do get this one stud here closer to the tip of the toe that's fairly large, larger than you would normally see. Nike does a lot of this. But because it is a little bit larger, I expected it to get in the way. It does not, and I actually really like the little bit of extra bite it gives you at the very tip of the toe when pushing off for a sprint in a straight line direction. So overall, really, really nice stud pattern. It does perform the part. It's not the most aggressive, and if you are playing on slightly harder ground, you may find this one to be a little bit more stable and a little bit more comfortable just because the studs aren't quite as long. But even if you are playing on a nice, kind of slightly softer natural grass field, you're unlikely to have any issues as far as traction is concerned. It just performed really well overall. No major complaints there whatsoever. And again, as a package, the New Balance Visaro is a very, very good shoe, especially if you were a fan of the original Hypervenom Phantom. It's not quite as soft, it's not quite as flexible, but what I will say is that the upper is better reinforced and it does make for a more responsive sensation in the long run, which you may view as a positive or negative thing, but either way, it definitely is the closest thing to that original Phantom model. So if you're looking for a replacement, this is the logical choice. As far as weight is concerned, the New Balance Visaro is a relatively lightweight shoe, especially in terms of how it feels on your feet. With that being said, I did notice that this later colorway of the New Balance Visaro does seem to weigh a little bit more than the initial launch color, which is what we're going to see right now on the scale. I'm not sure what the reasoning is. There doesn't appear to be any changes to the shoe, but it does feel just a slight bit heavier in your hands. So I'm going to weigh this pair for you today in real time using the scale. Keep in mind this is a brand new pair in a size 9.5 US. We're going to throw them on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 8.05 ounces, the equivalent of 228 grams. Now granted, the initial pair that I brought in for review and weighed in video was a size 9 US. These are a 9.5, so half a size larger, but that initial pair was 7.5 ounces, where these are almost at 8.1. So there's a 0.6 ounce weight difference between the two. I would expect these to weigh a little bit more because they are half size bigger, but not a difference of 0.6 ounces. So like I said, they have made some kind of change to this particular colorway that has added a little bit of weight to the shoe. Is it an amount of weight you're going to notice when the shoes are on your feet? Probably not. And if anything, they've added the weight for some good reason, I would assume. So if you are planning on buying a pair of New Balance Visaros, I guess you should know that the white and black, as well as the black and white colorways, do weigh a little bit more. But in the long run, it might make for some kind of improvement, some kind of structural integrity change that might be better for you in the long run. Either way, they feel pretty light on your feet, and that's really what you need to know. All right, so here is a look at the New Balance Visaros on feet. You can see I swapped out the laces on both colorways here. So on my left foot, the white pair, I have a pair of white with black dots SR4U laces, and on the black pair, I have a pair of black and white crackle SR4U laces. So if you are interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. You find a direct link to that website down below in the description of this video. Now in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, they're pretty comfortable, but at the same time they do have somewhat of an unusual feel to them. Like I mentioned, the heel area is cut very low. It's got a very shallow fit, but heel slippage really isn't an issue, so that's something that kind of just takes some getting used to and isn't necessarily something to be too concerned about unless you just really like a deeper fit from your shoes. As far as the shape is concerned, it's a little bit unusual as well. It's what they call their Pro Form Last, and it's kind of Puma-like in terms of its shape. It's not a perfectly rounded toe. It has kind of a point at the big toe area, then it's kind of squared off a little bit, and then it curves around kind of like a natural shape of your foot. So it doesn't feel like a standard rounded toe box like what you might find from an Adidas or a Nike boot. It is a little bit unusual in terms of its shape, but again, not something that really bothered me, didn't really take much getting used to. It's just something that felt a little bit different for the first 20 minutes or so, and then after that, I really didn't notice it at all. In regards to the comfort of the shoe, the upper is soft, it's flexible. It does feel like it squeezes your foot pretty tightly, but after a little bit of wear time, you find that it does give a little bit. So they'll stretch ever so slightly, but not a lot. Like I said, they have much more of a responsive sensation in comparison to the original Phantom 1, so the upper is more well reinforced. As far as width is concerned, it's not a narrow shoe, but it does have a tighter fit. They'll be suitable for most foot types, but if you don't necessarily like a tight fitting shoe, probably not the best option for you. And in regards to sizing, I bumped it up to a 9.5 US. The first pair of Visaros that I wore, the launch colorway, I had them in a 9 US, which is my usual size, and they fit, but the fit was very, very tight. So I figured second time around, I would try a 9.5, and I will say that I prefer the feel of the 9.5, although I can get away with going true to size or half size up. So really this is how I go about recommending it. If you want a really tight fit, stick true to size, or if you want a little bit of breathing room, perhaps more of a snug fit rather than a tight fit, you can pretty safely go a half size up in the New Balance Visaro. Same thing goes for the Furon line. The New Balance shoes kind of run, let's say, a quarter size small, if that makes any sense. You can stick true to size if you want that really tight fit, but again, if you want more of a snug feel, going a half size up is definitely not a bad idea. All right, guys, that is it for my review of the New Balance Visaro in the white and black and white colorways. If you guys are looking for more info on this shoe, be sure to check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you will find high quality images of this exact pair. That'll give you a better idea as to how these actually do look in person, as well as buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $180 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair for yourself, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions at all regarding the New Balance Visaro, leave them down below in the comment section, and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. As always, thanks for watching.